Broadcasting live from the offices of policebackground.net. This is the Police Applicant Podcast with your host, Ken Roybal.
Hey, welcome to another episode of YouTube Live of the Police Applicant Podcast. And we are simulcasting on YouTube and the Facebook page, the Police Applicant Group North America. And we've got a special episode for you today. Officer numbers fall below 9,000 LAPD, and there's a new contract. And with us is an amazingly special guest, Dennis Zine. And Dennis, I'm just going to read off some stuff here because I've known of Dennis for about, like we talked about 200 years. But so Dennis, let me tell you a little bit about Dennis before we get into talking with him. Is if there's anybody that's going to tell us what's going on or how all this stuff with recruitment, LA City, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, everything. Dennis is the guy. And so very quickly, Dennis is a retired LAPD Sergeant, 33 years. He spent 7 years as a Los Angeles Police Protective League Director, which if anybody doesn't know, the league is the quote unquote union for the police department that negotiates contracts. And he was also, this is the kicker here. He was an LA City Councilman from 2001 to 2013. So if there's anybody that's an expert in any of this stuff, it's Dennis. So welcome everybody to this special episode. Dennis, welcome, man. Thanks for being here.
Ken, my pleasure to be with you. And for all those folks out there that are looking for a career in law enforcement, I mean, God help us. When I was 21 years of age, I entered the police academy. Vietnam War was popping. My friends were getting drafted right and left. I got drafted into the United States Army. And fortunately, I was able to go to college. And when I exited college, I went to the LAPD. I was accepted, class of 8/11/68, 1968. How many of you viewers were born after 1968?
Yeah.
Which makes me one of the oldest working LAPD. I'm still a level 1 reserve. So I've got 55 years of experience with LAPD. As stated, 12 years in the city council. I was a charter commissioner, born and raised in LA. I've given this city my heart and soul and everything you have. So Los Angeles used to be a beautiful place. LAPD was a wonderful department. It was just marvelous. You could get a great career. You'd retire with your head held high. You would then move into retirement, enjoy the rest of your life. Well, I have not retired from the police department after 55 years. I'm still a level 1 reserve. I still work. And people say, how can you go out there and do that at your age? I was born in 1947. So those of you who have a calculator or you want to get a pen and pencil, that is 76 years old. I am 76 years old.
Man.
At 21, I'm still there. Still ride a Harley, still go to Sturgis, South Dakota. So while the years have gone by, my age is still active and very productive. And thank goodness I've had a great career. So that from the politics. So I have a balance between law enforcement, what it used to be, what it's become, politics, what it was, what it's become. And if anyone's looking for a career in law enforcement, it's a great career. It's a wonderful career. You can really do good for the community. But you need a community that really cares about you, cares about you to protect and serve. Not that you're a racist or a bigot or anything that they want to modify and call you. When I was a young police officer, he called us pigs, and we turned that into pride, integrity, and guts. Well, now they call them everything under the sun. They flip them off. They just don't care. There's no respect. Respect is gone. Really, respect is gone. There's no respect for parents, no respect for teachers, no respect for law enforcement, no respect for anything. The system turned into a real fiasco. But a career in law enforcement, I found rewarding. I retired from the council. I retired from the LAPD. I have a nice pension. I don't have to worry about paying my bills or putting food on my table. And I worked my tail off to get that. I worked the Olympics. I worked the riots. I worked the Rodney King situation. You name it, I worked it. I was there. But people who want to join law enforcement, I will tell you, LAPD is a great place. The city has fallen apart. If you look at San Francisco and you look at what's happened in San Francisco with the crime, the violence, and you look at other parts of the state of California, we've got poor leadership. So I don't blame the taxpayers. I don't blame the hardworking people. I don't blame the police officers. But your elected officials are a bunch of knuckleheads that do nothing to help inspire or to motivate. Now, I'm not talking about all of them, but the vocal majority who speaks out against law enforcement For example, Los Angeles City Council, 15 council members. Few of them are going to prison because they're corrupt, taking on money on the side and all kinds of other illegal activity. You can just check the paper for that. LA City Council, corrupt politicians. And what happens is they want to defund the police. They want to mock the police. They want to put ambassadors and non-armed law enforcement in place.
Mm-hmm.
We've had situations where officers have been involved, killed, officers involved in situations have been killed, officers have been involved in situations where they had to use deadly force. The scrutiny on deadly force is absolutely beyond your wildest imagination. We now wear body cams. Before you stop a car in the city of Los Angeles for a traffic violation, you got to activate your body cam. You got to state, I'm stopping a car. It's a blue car, one male, description, passengers, description, speed, etc. This is all done before you actually stop the car. Once you stop the car, your body cam is still going. You have a conversation, license, insurance, registration. I'll be back in a moment. Thank you very much. That's all recorded. Once you finish that, you got to write a report for the citation that you wrote that individual who's going 90 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. This is the problem. There is so much saddled with the law enforcement officers, at least in Los Angeles, in California. There's an anti-mentality with the elected officials, and there's no more balance as far as politics in California. It's a one-party state. And I'm not saying Democrats are evil, bad people, but the knuckleheads who get elected to office are anti-police. And if you're anti-police, you're pro-crime. So we have a situation where you can go into a market and you can legally take whatever you want without paying. And they're working on a law right now that's going to make the people within the store, the employees, if you intervene with that person stealing, you will be committing a crime. You can go arrested. You can get arrested for what? For stopping a shoplifter? It used to be petty theft with a prior was a felony. But we have a district attorney, George Gascon, who used to be LAPD, who went to Arizona, went to San Francisco, destroyed San Francisco, came down here as the DA, destroying it. There is no real law and no order anymore. So as far as law enforcement, it's a great career. Maybe in other states, but California, it's really, really stressful for people to do a job in a professional manner and not worry about getting in trouble. And what happens with that is you're reluctant to stop people. You're reluctant to initiate anything other than a radio call. And we're so low. We're less than 9,000 officers on the LAPD. Less than 10,000. We got 9,000 and change. Less than 10,000. They want to have over 10,000. We got the Olympics coming up in 2020. What do? Where are we going to get the people from? A lot of people for a variety of reasons. If you smoke marijuana, but you're not actively smoking, they'll hire you. If you got tattoos, they'll hire you. As long as you're a good, honorable citizen, they'll hire you. But that you're not going to make a fortune. If you make $70,000 or $80,000 a year, now living in Los Angeles, as Ken knows, it's expensive. You'll pay $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, $2,000 a month. It's expensive. When I was a young policeman, I had a one-bedroom apartment. I paid $150 a month. You'll now spend $150 going out to dinner. So from 1968 to where we are now, the cost of living, et cetera. So if you're interested in law enforcement, if you're looking at a career, not just a job, because some people come in now, and I've spoken to some new officers. Yeah, I'm here for a few years to get some experience. I'm going to move on to something else. If you're really here and you're committed to it, well, it's a great opportunity with training. They have a good academy. They've got good training, peace officer standard training, et cetera. But the environment that you receive from the population of the, the adversaries to law and order, or the politicians who are against defund the police, that really turns against your tide to go out there, risk your life to protect and serve when you've got that deal with your everyday confrontation. It's and people used to not resist. In my whole time, I've had two fights. You fight now people for everything. They want to flip you off. You're walking down the street, driving down the street. There is so much negativity towards law enforcement. Black Lives Matter, BLM helped generate that. And the movement now is anti-police, show disrespect. So officers, what they like to do is get out of uniform as quickly as possible, get into another assignment, detectives or something else. But the attitude towards society, towards the police, is really turned sour, at least in Los Angeles and California. It's really sad. But I blame the politicians, because you get arrested, you don't have to put up bail, you go to court, you don't show up, no big deal. We've really turned the law into a joke. And if you're a storekeeper, God help you. You look at all these stores that have closed across the country because of shoplifting out of control. I go to a local Ralph's. They have an armed security guard as you enter the Ralph's store. And then if you want to get any kind of medicine, it's locked up at night. You can only get it in the daytime, and they have a clerk that's there. You have to buy it and pay for it in there. If you want to buy laundry soap, you get a little tab. You take that tab when you check out, they bring it to you. There is so much shoplifting in these stores. It's out of control. And now the California knuckleheads and state legislature want to make it against the law for you as an employee to stop someone who's shoplifting. There's a recent video. It's online. Ken, I don't know if you've seen it. The 7-Eleven, where the individual had a large trash bag, and he's just taking the shelves and scooping, not just individual, just scooping it up. And these fine individuals said, enough. And they got a stick. They started beating them. And now they're doing an investigation to see if they're going to file criminal charges on these gentlemen who were maintaining the store to see if he did something wrong to try and prevent this idiot thief who'd done it before from stealing. I mean, this is how absurd it is in California. So, I mean, I can go on and on. Yet, why am I still, if you hate the thing so much, why? Because I want to change it. I write a column called Rants and Raves. It's published. It's online, Rants and Raves. I do a lot of media out speaking to let them know, folks, wake up. It can't continue like this. You can't worry about walking out at night. You can't worry about getting in your car. You can't worry about everything because the criminal aspect needs to be encountered by law enforcement professional that does what they need to do. There was a recent case here in the San Fernando Valley a couple of Sundays ago where some lady had a metal rod, and she's walking down the street, banging women over the head, knocking them out, knocking them unconscious. Call goes out, 911. Police respond. They had the beanbag. They had non-lethal. They did everything they could. And she was coming at the officer, and she was going to bang that officer over the head. Well, she got shot and killed. Why did she get shot? Why didn't they tackle her? Well, you don't get paid to get shot. You don't get paid to get hurt. You get paid to enforce the law. So this lady is shot. She dies from the injuries, and you were trained to shoot 3 rounds, 2 in the chest and 1 to the head for a fatal in case they're wearing a bulletproof vest. That's how we're trained. And this lady passed away. But think about the people that she put in the hospital with concussions because she was just walking down the street, arbitrarily whacking people over the head with this metal rod. Those are the kind of situations you encounter. And as an officer, you got to say, can I take a life? Can I take a life? If you can come to that conclusion that you only do it as a last resort, not you want to go out and hurt people or kill people or put people in jail, but you commit a crime, there's consequences. And I raised 2 sons with my wife, and both sons, one's in law enforcement, one's a captain with the airline, and both kids are doing well because they had discipline. They didn't get beaten. They got discipline, and discipline is an essential part of raising people. And the law makes people comply, and discipline is what the police do. Discipline by arresting someone, by enforcing the law. And some people think, well, that's wrong. That's racist. That's bigotry. That's wrong. Well, we're not going to have a civilized society. We'll have total anarchy. And in Los Angeles, there are areas which are nothing but crime and violence, and anarchy prevails. Go to San Francisco. If you don't believe me, go to San Francisco and see how it happens. And let me just one more thing, because I can go like a record forever. Homeless. We are spending billions upon billions upon billions of dollars on homeless. There's no end in sight. We keep on finding more money and more taxes for homeless. How long do we keep the homeless in a camp or in a house or an apartment or a hotel, whatever we're going to do? How long do we do that until we say, get a job and go out and earn your living? There's no end in sight. We're going to continue to pay for homeless forever because there's no end. All we want to do is rehabilitate. Some people aren't going to be rehabilitated because of drugs, violence, mental illness, whatever the case may be. And we used to have mental hospitals. They're talking about bringing them back through the care court. If that happens, that'll help remedy some of the situation. But I feel for the homeless population. I also feel for the taxpayers who's footing the bill and saying, when does it stop? Well, let me tell you, folks, it's not stopping. All they're doing is adding more and more taxes because it's a never-ending road when it comes to the homeless and what we're going to try to do to clean it up. And I'll go to some cities in California. There are no homeless. And I wonder, where are they? They're not there. They're only in certain cities, like Los Angeles is flooded with a homeless population.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to unpack. That was a great opening, by the way. I love your passion.
That was a whole show.
The whole show, man. You and I did a news story with Gina Silvia on Fox News yesterday. And I thought she did a good job with that. And we talked about LAPD recruitment. So the 2 things that I want to tackle today, and you're the expert in a lot of this stuff. The first part of this episode, I want to talk about LAPD recruitment. The second part, the life of an LAPD contract and how it comes to pass that these contracts, I know there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but you were there.
The MOU, Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah, memorandum, the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. So let's start out with the LAPD recruitment. Yesterday on the news, the same interviews, the same story that you and I were in, Chief Moore was interviewed by Gina. He said that, well, the recruitment's down because defunding, he said, meant two things, defunding and COVID.
Right.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Dennis, I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of Michael Moore. I think
a lot of people agree with you. A lot of people agree with you.
I think he's a toxic leader. I think he doesn't back his officers and all kinds of stuff like that. So I'm not a fan of his. And when he talks to me about recruitment and how they can't hire people because of COVID, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to give me a break on that one. But as a league member and a city councilman and as a league director, what do you say when you hear that from this chief that they've lost 1,000 officers in 3 years?
Well, they haven't lost it because of COVID, and they haven't lost it because of anything other than people find another place to go. They don't want to be here. What we have is veteran officers. When they get to 33 years, they're at 90% pension. To stay after 33 years, you're really working for 10% because you get 90% retired. And people come to that point. A lot of folks get into what we call the drop program for 4 or 5 years and leave. We have a lot of people leaving because they're unhappy. They don't feel their support by the department administration. They don't feel support by the police commission. They don't feel support by the city council. We now have a mayor. I think she's trying. But the problem with the way the city works and being 12 years a council member, the mayor can come up with anything and everything, but the council has to sign off on it. The council has to give it the stamp of approval. And what we have is a situation where the chief wants to come up with reasons. Well, the reasons are defund LAPD, Black Lives Matter, and mock the police, along with people now getting elected to the LA City Council who say defund the police, and they mock the police. So you got 15 council members. They're not all supportive of the LAPD, not supportive of law and order, what they believe. And I'll give you this is a classic example. Catalytic converters, a big problem with catalytic converters being stolen in Los Angeles, a huge problem. And they're expensive, over $1,000 if you can find one, because they steal so many, they don't get them back in stock. And my neighbor next door to me had her catalytic converter stolen from her Prius. So what happens with the catalytic converter? 2 council members. One council member says, we should blame the manufacturers. Now, understand, the catalytic converter is attached to the exhaust under the car. The catalytic converter attached to the exhaust in the car, and this council member says, we should blame the manufacturers because they're not secure enough. Well, using that logic, maybe someone breaks in a window of the car, the glass is not strong enough to withstand a brick coming through, where people break into cars like they do in San Francisco all the time. The other council member, who's another knucklehead council member, says we shouldn't arrest these people stealing catalytic converters because we don't want to turn them into thieves, into criminals. Well, hey, folks, you're a criminal when you're stealing a catalytic converter. You're a criminal when you're breaking into a car. So you got 2 of the 15 council members that come up with those ridiculous statements, which I challenged all over the media. It's absurd, but they don't like the police. The police are the enemy, according to them. So it doesn't matter what the criminal's doing. Let the criminal run away with everything that they want, but blame the police because the police are the wrong. Or let's blame the manufacturer because it isn't attached tight enough. I mean, if you know what a catalytic converter is, it's because of exhaust emissions, and it's a device that's placed onto the exhaust system. That means if someone breaks into your car and steals your battery, it's the manufacturer's fault because they're not securing it with a ball and chain. I mean, how ridiculous can we be? That's one of the problems. These are the people who are leading, but these are the people the chief has to answer to. He's got to answer to the city council. He's got to answer to the mayor. He's got to answer not to the people, because the chief used to have an unlimited term. And now the chief has a 5-year term appointed by the mayor, approved by the police commission. But let me tell you this, who appoints the police commission?
Mm-hmm.
The police commission is appointed by the mayor, confirmed by the council, and they appoint the chief. So who's making the choice? It's the mayor, confirmed by the council. I mean, it's all a dog and pony show when you think about it. But the bottom line is, you got people in political office, for whatever reason, they don't like the police. They think that they're racist, they're bigots, they're thieves, they're crooks, they're everything under the sun except protectors of society. That's one of the huge issues that I have a problem with, is how they view law enforcement. And Ma and Pa Kettle sitting home saying, we support the police because they keep us safe. They keep us safe from the bad guys.
Why don't candidates, why aren't they attracted to LAPD, and why don't LAPD officers like working for LAPD?
Well, the reason candidates aren't attracted, LAPD does have a standard. If you got a criminal background, they don't want you. If you're a crook, they don't want you. And that happened in Florida a number of years ago, when they were hiring people, a big hiring surge, and they were recruiting drug dealers. And obviously that turned into a very negative situation. You've got to screen the people. They get polygraphs, they get drug tests, they get everything. We've got a great academy. They get you into really good shape. Now, if you're out of shape, you're 300 pounds and you are 5 feet tall, 300 pounds, you're never going to make it over the wall. You're never going to make an arrest. You're going to, you're going to have a heart attack. You got to be in you got to be in physical shape. I remember when I worked out before I entered the academy, and I still work out every day. I'm walking 3 miles a day, except when it rains, and I've stayed in good shape. So you got to be in shape, but they don't, not everybody can be a police officer. That's the bottom line. It's not because of race. It's not because of religion. It's not because you're gay, because now when I joined, if you were gay, you'd be terminated. You would be, if you live with a woman, not your wife, you'd be terminated. I mean, that's the way it was, but society has changed. If you smoked marijuana 10 years ago, that's not going to be a disqualifier. Years ago, it was a disqualifier. But if you're addicted to drugs, you're a gambler, and you got bad credit. If you got bad credit, that's not good, because now you're tempted to steal. So they do have a very good screening process. So a lot of people who come to me and say, we want to be a police officer. What'd you do for a living? I didn't do much after school. Well, how far did you go? I graduated high school. Well, I've had a job here and there. And you want to be a police officer? What qualification? How's your credit rating? What's your credit score? You know, is it a 3 or a 4? Well, wait a second. You're not a good candidate, because your moral character has something to do with it. But clearly, a lot of people in the past, if you were gay, no. If you'd smoked marijuana, no. If you were a drug addict, well, they still won't take drug addicts. But if you smoked dope in the past, it's like alcohol. You know, California, marijuana is now legal. You just can't come to work loaded, but marijuana stays in your system a long time, as we know. So when people want to do it, and is it worth 80 grand a year? Now you think 80 grand a year, okay? 80 grand a year. That's what you're making, but you got to take out the taxes, the retirement, the medical, all of the expenses that you have. So you're not making 80 grand a year. When they talk about the incentives, I mean, the cost of living in California and Los Angeles is extremely high. It's not unusual to pay over $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. Now you can go to a ghetto neighborhood and you're probably going to get something for $1,000, but you're still spending $1,000. They're giving incentives. LAPD right now gives an incentive for recruits to help sustain them while they're renting an apartment. They give them some money to help with that, which they never used to do. But it's changed. But if people are interested, if you're a good moral character and you really want to protect and serve, then LAPD is a great organization. The CHP is in competition with the LAPD. The CHP patrols throughout the state of California. If you want to live in North California or San Diego, wherever you want to live, you can go to CHP and you work statewide. They're hiring 1,000. The LA County Sheriff is hiring 1,000. If you look at every single department in California, they're hiring people. Every large and small, they're all hiring. If you're looking for a career in law enforcement, apply. What I tell people, apply everywhere. Apply to Burbank, Pasadena, Glendale. Apply to if you want to go bake in the sun, go to the desert, go Coachella Valley, Palm Springs. You'll find agencies are hiring, but they screen people. So if you have good character and you've done well, that's fine. If you got a degree, you're going to make more. If you got a master's, you got a doctorate, you got a PhD, whatever the case may be. But if you got a GED, I think you've got to have a high school diploma more than a GED. If you got 2 years of college, that helps. The higher education gives you a bonus on this salary. It used to be a high school diploma. It used to be veterans. Veterans don't join anymore because they stay in the military and then they retire. Very few veterans come into the military.
Yeah, there's a story out today. LAPD officer arrested for theft and burglary. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
He was arrested for a felony warrant for burglary and theft after he was a 16-year LAPD veteran, and he took somebody's card and started using it. But that's a story in the.
See, this is exactly what I'm saying. This is a criminal who's a cop. You can't do that. You can't accept that, because that then percolates throughout the community. Oh my God, every cop is now stealing. That's what happens. That's why you need to have internal, and I worked internal affairs. You need to have internal affairs. You need to make sure these people are honest. If you lose honesty, you lose the whole thing. You lose public confidence, then you lose the backbone of what law enforcement's about. If you're good character, then that's what you're looking for. I've been around 55 years, and I've seen this situation. The guys who were working dope, they go take money. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yep. A quick shout out to Things Police See podcast, Stephen Gould. He used to work backgrounds with me. Steve, what's happening, brother? Hey, Dennis, the LAPD, I got a beef with LAPD recruitment. The way the chief is handling it is one. Their big focus is on diversity hiring. And to my knowledge, and I was there for 16 years, it doesn't work. And so when LAPD started hemorrhaging police officers, and they want to hire black officers, and they want to hire females and all this, and now with everything that's going on, they got two problems. They got attrition. Officers are quitting or retiring. LAPD recruitment was, black officers a few years ago were in the double digits, 16, 13% or something like that. And today, black officers are retiring. There's only 9% on LAPD. And then what they're trying to recruit these diversity candidates, but that formula for recruitment is failing. They can't get enough candidates. What's wrong with LAPD's recruitment model, and why aren't they learning their lesson that it's not working? Let's do something else and just hire qualified candidates.
Well, that's common sense, but oftentimes bureaucracy comes in between common sense and lack of common sense. Well, I understand they want to do 30 by 30. They want to have 30% of the department female by 2030. Mm-hmm. I think, and I've worked with African-American officers, Hispanic officers, female officers. I even work with a couple of gay officers. You know what? As long as you're a good person and you're there for the right reason, then you should be able to be hired. They shouldn't put these numbers out. In fact, recently, the controller, who's another knucklehead, the city controller, total knucklehead, he came out with this: more African Americans and Hispanic are being arrested more than other people. Wait a second, folks. Go look at the crime reports. What is the suspect? The suspect's African American, Latino, African American, Latino. So you have white people who are arrested along with all types of other people, but the majority are the people committing the crimes, and the people committing the crimes happen to be Hispanic and African American. That's a fact, and that's described by the victim of the crime. So when they want to say, oh, they're picking on, they're not picking on anybody. When the crime report is made, and the other thing I emphasize for people is make a freaking crime report when you're the victim of a crime. There's so many people who get victimized and they don't make a crime report. Well, if you don't make a crime report, there is no crime. And if you don't describe the individual, what are they going to look for? So it's incumbent upon the population to make sure it's done properly and the police department to do it proper. But this whole thing about the racial profiling and all this, is interesting. I spoke to a motorcycle officer yesterday. He was having a coffee break. I don't know the individual. I walked in and I said, hey, I got a couple of questions. Showed him my ID. Well, a couple of questions. He says, sit down. We start to have a conversation. And I said, you're a motor cop. And I was a motor cop. When you're chasing someone from the rear, you don't know what they are. You don't know. If you stop someone, you don't know. He says, well, I work radar. So with radar, you have a radar gun pointed out and you see the car coming and you're looking at the radar gun, you're getting the reading. You don't know if it's a male or a female or a Hispanic or African American. You have no idea. You pull the car over, it's a driver. He says, I have to write a report. I don't know what the driver is until I get up there and walk on the car. They want to say, oh, you're picking on racial profile. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm picking on a speeding car going 60 and a 35. Well, and he works a street out here in the San Fernando Valley, and he does radar. So when we talk about, they're all worried about, are you picking on people? No, cops aren't picking on people. Cops, police officers, are enforcing the law against criminals who commit violations, whether it's a traffic violation or a shoplifting situation or a murder, whatever the case may be. And look at the pursuits. We never used to have pursuits like we have now. Well, we have a policy on the pursuits: terminate, 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 because we don't want to get anyone hurt. The CHP has a policy: catch the guy. If you want to get in pursuit, don't get in pursuit with the CHP because they're going to chase you down until they catch you. LAP, terminate, terminate, terminate. We don't want to injure the public. And I understand we don't want to injure people. But the fact is, people understand that. Let's flee. The cops will terminate the pursuit and we get away. We've stolen the car, whatever the case. But we've had some horrendous pursuits. And I do those broadcasts for Fox 11. And it's outrageous what people do. But they get away with it. And they say, well, shoot, I'll get away with it too. So don't blame the police for the public that has a criminal behavior. And don't look at, well, you have a black officer, a Hispanic officer, an Asian officer. Police officers wear a uniform, wear a badge. They all bleed the same color red. And they're there to protect and serve, period.
Hey, very quickly, if you're listening to this,
Man, I'm retired. I got all day. Don't rush me.
we're both retired. If
Yeah.
you listen to if you're listening to this, Dennis is an absolute expert in everything that we're talking about. Ask your questions of him, because he knows everything about the police contracts, the city council, the protective league, everything LAPD. So ask your questions, and we'll get them answered for you. Dennis,
Okay, let's talk about MOU. Let's talk about the league also, because I did 7 years of the protective. Let's talk about that for a minute.
okay, let's move into, because but you know what? First, let me ask you a question real quick.
You're the host. I'm just a guest. I'll shut it up. Go ahead.
LAPD is tanking on recruitment. They're tanking.
Big time.
And so if you were, as a league director, as a city council member, as a police sergeant, what would you tell LAPD in order to turn the tide to start getting people interested in the department, as opposed to what they're doing now?
Well, they're not reaching any reasonable goals. And what frightens me is the 2028 Olympics. And I worked the 84 Olympics. You need a massive deployment. You have to escort all the athletes to every venue. You got to secure the venues 24 hours a day, 7 days. I mean, it's a massive deployment, 12-hour shifts for everybody. The department's recruitment efforts, I don't think, really target people who want to be police officers. They target certain communities. They want to get African American. They want to get Asian. They want to get Latino. Let's do a broad base and let's put the money forward. I mean, we got billions of dollars for the homeless. Maybe we should put some money in for recruitment efforts. Army's doing recruitment. I serve on the Army board. They're doing recruitment. They put like $1 million or $1 billion into Army recruitment. We need to do some advertising. They don't do it. You know, they're going to go to a school. Well, that's not the place to go. You got to go to the community groups. You got to mass blanket it. You got to have a very active group. They'll go to fairs, they'll go to festivals, but they're not reaching any goals. And the other thing is, you try to retain what you got, because as soon as these folks get to that point, they say, I'm going to go on the deferred ops retirement program. They're actively retiring on paper, but they stay active for a 5-year maximum, and they get more money when they leave. But you're losing people, and you got to maintain them. But many officers are frustrated because of leadership in the department. I don't want to just blame the chief. I want to blame the city council people who are anti-police. I want to blame Black Lives Matter, who does everything they can to attack the police. It's a number of factors. It's not just one factor. But the bottom line is the recruitment effort has to be increased. They have a section. I don't think they do enough to recruit. I think their outreach is limited, but you need to recruit. I was recruited because I wanted to be a police officer. No one recruited me. I went out and sought it because I wanted to do it. But just like the military, when we had the draft, there was no choice. You're drafted, you're going. But now they have to go out and advertise to show the benefits. So if you got a college loan, oftentimes you can get that loan removed because you take a career in law enforcement. There's a lot of benefits when you look into the law enforcement career. If you got student loans, you're thinking, well, the president is going to reduce them. No, that didn't happen. The court said, no, President, that's not going to happen. So now people, how am I going to get rid of these student loans that I have to pay thousands of dollars? You know, oftentimes you recruit into law enforcement, get drafted, not drafted, but recruited, you enter law enforcement. Some of those loans can be removed as part of the recruitment tool. They need to advertise that. Those are available. And if you go online, if you're interested in law enforcement, go online, LAPD recruitment. There's a wealth of information, all the tests you have to take and this and that and the other. There's a whole rigmarole. But if you got a bad background, forget it. Don't waste your time or the recruiter's time. If you got a good background, you good moral character, you want to do it. And it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female or gay or straight or have a tattoo. It doesn't matter. They want qualified people who are going to respect the law, enforce the law in a professional manner. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, here's a question from one of the listeners here. Because of the high attrition, low retention, and low recruitment, how long do you think it will be before the chief removes the polygraph? I've heard this before, Dennis. He wants to take the polygraph away.
Well, I understand they're going to keep the polygraph. I checked into that. The drug test is going to be mandatory, and so is the polygraph. A lot of departments have done away with the polygraph. There was a recruitment recently in the academy, and he passed the drug test. He didn't pass the poly. He was taken out of the academy. You need to maintain honesty. One officer, as we know, can destroy, because that's a headline news story. LAPD officer, 16 years, does something. Boom. Now people lose confidence in everyone. So an officer stops you for a oh, you're another corrupt cop. You've got to maintain that high standard. I think that removing the polygraph, removing the drug test is a big problem. It'd be a big problem. You're going to get numbers. You got volume, you got quality or quantity. What do you want? You want quality or you want quantity? You just want to get people go on there and carry a badge and a gun, and you think that things are bad now with some of the issues with law enforcement, stand by. No, I think the polygraph should remain along with the drug test and the background check. I mean, I was 21 when I joined. They didn't do a big background check because there's not a lot to check when you're 21 years of age. But if you're 30 or 35 or 40, and there's people that age, they had an individual one time that left the Army. He was like 60 years old and went to the academy. He didn't last long, but he graduated the academy. The guy's 60 years old. You know, that's ridiculous to think you're going to be on the beat at 60 years of age. I go out to level 1 reserve. I'm not going to go jumping walls, but I'll go work details that I feel comfortable with. I'm not going to be going out there and chasing cars on a motorcycle and doing crazy things. But there's a thing comes with age, and that comes a matter of sensibility, and with age comes sensibility. But if you've been smoking dope your whole life, you dropped out of school, you beat your mom and dad, and you know what, you beat your dog, and you're just a bad person, don't even waste your time. That's not what we're looking for in law enforcement. No one really wants that as a person that they're going to be working with.
Well, tell me this: in March, Mayor Bass came out. I don't know about Mayor Bass, other than she came from Congress and sponsored the George Floyd Policing Act, which wants to take away qualified immunity. Other than that, I don't know her. But in March,
qualified immunity means you're going to lose your house and everything you've got. That qualified immunity is very important. They're going to strip you to nothing. That's what it is. Go ahead. I just want to interject that. Okay,
the mayor of Los Angeles doesn't mind taking that away from LAPD officers. But in March, she said that there were obstacles to certain groups of candidates that weren't allowing them to join the police department. What do you think of, and you know, everybody's translating that to lower the standards. What do you think?
Well, they're not going to lower the standards. And the thing about Mayor Bass, she doesn't understand law enforcement at all. Okay, she was a congresswoman, assembly, etc. She's got a good political background. I have no animosity toward the lady, but she doesn't understand it. And California, it's called
red phone emergency.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to get rid of this.
You're a busy man.
Peace officer standard in training. The peace officer standard in training. Did you lose me on this? Did you lose me here?
Nope, I got you.
Oh, I can't see you though. Where are you? Oh my goodness! Why'd the phone have to go off? Where is it? Oh, I can't find you.
Hang on. Let me get you. Let me see if I can adjust you.
I'm looking. I can't see you.
Your camera. Hang on, folks. Technical difficulties here. We're going to get back to you after this commercial break. There should be a thing about camera. You can actually go. You can if there's a thing on there about cameras and things like that.
FaceTime.
Are you there now?
No.
Am I there?
FaceTime. Not FaceTime. Where's this?
It should be StreamYard.
FaceTime. StreamYard. Where's?
Dennis can't see us, guys. He can't see us.
Where's FaceTime?
We're not on FaceTime. We're on.
Oh, no, I'm trying to find. I'm pushing buttons here.
Your camera's working because I can see you.
Really? I just can't see you. Well, I guess you could see me, and I don't have to see you. Yeah, that's weird. What is it? It's like it got free form. I don't know. One of your listeners, one of your viewers needs to know something about computers.
Well, I can. So you're on a Mac, and the camera is somehow went off, and it's probably attached to your phone.
The phone knocked it off.
So your phone's attached to your computer. So are you back on the screen for the StreamYard?
No, I'm on the screen, but I can't find.
It's where your camera is directed toward. And your camera's working.
It is. Appearance.
Hang on, folks. We're going to get this taken care of. Yeah, Ilazar, we can. I can see him too. I can see Dennis on screen.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll just keep talking, man. I'll just. I can't.
Jeffrey says if you're on a computer, you can click the Control, Alt, and Tab button to find the correct screen.
Wait,
Control, Alt, Tab.
Control. Where's Control? I got Control, Alt. I'm looking for
tab.
alt. I'm all looking for alt. I can't find alt. Control. Where's the alt?
Alt is usually in the bottom left.
Got, option command. I got control option command.
Should be Control Alt, but you have to press them one after another or at the same time.
Option command, and then what?
Control Alt. What do you say? Control Alt Tab, and it'll pull up which screen that you want to go to.
I didn't do it. That's weird.
You can also exit the studio and come back in.
That's
If you want to do that.
Photos, freeform. I have no.
You want to go back? You want to back out and then come back into the studio?
It was so hard getting in. I'm looking here. No, that's just keep talking. I don't need to see you. You're a handsome guy. It's okay. I'll just keep.
I'm very handsome.
I'll just keep
One last thing before we move into the contract is
MOU.
the MOU. It's called the MOU, guys, because that's what the official name of the contract is.
Memorandum of Understanding. That's basically the technical term.
Government talk.
Yeah.
There's a question. You can't see the screen. You can't see anything that I have up here, huh?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay. So the question I want to ask is one of our listeners is saying the last academy graduating class was 26 officers. How soon do you think it will be before LAPD hits 8,000 officers? This is a big fear of mine, Dennis, that the numbers.
I don't think it's going to go that low because July was a big time to retire. Because why July is you receive the pay will be effective July 1st. So whatever they resolve a contract, that'll come on. So after July, you always get a good exodus. July and January seemed a big time when people leave. My son is the captain of training division, so I get inside track of what's going on with training division. And they have small classes. I mean, classes are less than 30. And some of those are from outside departments. They do train for other agencies. So when you really think about how many are coming on the streets versus retiring, if you get one that joins and 3 retire, you're going to be down. So how they're going to gear up for the Olympics, I have no idea. And they're trying to build incentives. Again, remember, the MOU, the contract, has not gone through ratification by the officers. And the officers I've spoken to are not supporting this contract. They don't think it's a fair contract. So that's one of the issues. If they don't support it, then the city's got a problem. Because now they're going to have to go back to the bargain table and see what else do we have to add to this to get these folks to join. And I remember when I was a league director, there was a contract presented. They didn't accept it. We went to ratification. It was not accepted. It was rejected. So we're the union that says, hey, folks, this is the best we get. They said, baloney, we're not going to accept this. We had to go back to the table and sweeten it up, and the city finally came around. But remember, yesterday in the city of LA, they had a huge work stoppage by city employees that say, we want additional compensation. So right now you got the screen actors, you got the directors, all these people who were going out. UPS was going to go out. They settled theirs. But with the cost of living and things, it's not a really good time to talk about contracts.
Now so we're going to move into the LAPD contract, which affects not only new officers coming in, but obviously the veteran officers as well. So the contract, I saw some emails from the league and everything. The contract was 11% for new hires and 3 and 4 times 3 for veteran officers over 4 years. Is it, or 3 years?
I think 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. And then there was a bunch of other stuff. Let's tackle the thing about the 11% for recruit officers. Is that good?
Well, any kind of increased compensation will help. But again, when you're competing with Beverly Hills, see what Beverly Hills and some of these other smaller departments do is they don't have an academy. They'll cherry pick. And I met with their chief a year or so ago. They'll cherry pick through different departments. They'll advertise and they'll cherry pick people who have good standards, good reputation. And they'll bring them into Beverly Hills at a higher salary, good equipment. People love you. Council loves you. Mayor loves you. And you're working basically in paradise. So that's the difference. Is that how these other departments compete? They don't have the huge numbers that LA has or the sheriffs, the highway patrol, but they treat you better. They're on a state system for pension. So you're going to get basically the same benefits working in a safer, cleaner, nicer environment. You don't see the homeless population in Beverly Hills. But if you want to work and be a real street cop and go out there and put bad guys in jail and get yourself in trouble sometimes, you like Los Angeles, you like a big city. But if you're really looking to go out there and do patrol in a nice community in a brand new car, Beverly Hills is a wonderful department. And the chief of Beverly Hills is former LAPD. And there's a captain at Beverly Hills who her dad is the chief of Burbank PD. There's a whole history of the family operations. But what we do with the increase, but just look at the cost of living in Los Angeles. This is not like South Dakota. This is Los Angeles, where the costs keep going up higher and higher and higher. Just how much are you paying for gasoline? Over $5 a gallon? Now, I shop at Costco, so I'm paying $4 and change for gasoline for regular. It's extremely expensive. And if officers live in an Antelope Valley and work in a Harbor Division or work in 70th Street, 77 or Newton, I mean, you got a heck of a long drive to make. That's one of the problems. It's the cost of living in this region. Not so bad the salary, but the cost of living and the expense that you have to go through. It's very expensive. If you are a single person and you don't have any other expenses, but if you're married with a couple of kids and a wife who's not working, God help you. You're not going to be able to survive on that salary unless you're living in a tent some place in the desert.
Well, let's get into the portion that affects veteran officers on this contract. What I want the our listeners to or our viewers to understand is the life of a contract from birth to ratification. So, what are the steps? A contract expires, and as I remember, a contract expires, and then the officers work for, I don't know, 1-2 years without a contract.
Well, no.
Somehow it comes up. How does this work?
It's not supposed to be that way. They're supposed to have a contract delivered on time. So what they're doing, this contract's tied into the Olympics, which is good because they'll have the Olympics as a bargaining chip. You always need a bargaining chip. And with this contract, they've been sacrificing. They weren't hiring, and the COVID issue affected the recruitment for one aspect, but we can't use that excuse forever. But what happens, the contract is a 3-4 year contract, whatever the term of the contract is. And within the contract, you got peace and tranquility. You know what you're going to get, medical, et cetera, and you're going to get pay raise, whatever percentage on a certain date. July 1st is when it takes effect. So that's how you get. Now they throw in a bonus. They'll give you a patrol bonus. They'll give you, if you're a tactical flight officer in a helicopter, a motorcycle bonus. They'll throw in, like when Bratton was here, he threw in a flashlight. So you get a flash. Whoa, we're going to get a flashlight? Well, God, thank you very much, Chief Bratton. You gave us a flashlight as part of the contract. So there's different things they throw into the package. If you got college incentive, there's all kinds of things they throw in. But what happens is when you're looking at incentives, you have, say the department's 9,000. Well, how many are going to actually get that incentive? Not all 9,000. Maybe 4,000 will get that incentive. So it's all calculated. And I've sat at the table. I was on the negotiating team, so I know how it works. You go back and forth to City Hall. God bless it. Back and forth to City Hall. And you're haggling back and forth. Then you got league directors. I worked with Bill Harkness. He was a league director. God bless him. He passed away. Bill, great motor cop. And he was president of the Protect League at one time. And I can remember going, and we worked on 7 days a week on this. We go to City Hall. He'd come up in his jeans with a T-shirt, and he had the contract stuffed in his rear pocket. And I said, we're negotiating a contract with the city of Los Angeles, and this is how we're making the presentation. Lo and behold, we got the contract done. I remember sometimes it was a lot of anguish to get the contract. Gordon Lawler was the individual from the city administrative office. They represent the city. So you haggle back and forth, like the 312 plan. It used to be 8-hour shifts. Then we went to the 312 plan. We negotiated that forever. And Chief Williams at the time, Willie Williams was at the time, and he's since passed away, but he was the person who supported the 312. When Bernard Parks came in as the chief, he dumped the 312. So the negotiation takes place. Your bargaining unit is the protective league. And if you're a member of that, there's insurance protections, et cetera. It's not mandatory, but most people are members, and we do the fighting for you to make sure you get a contract with all the benefits, and hopefully it's a good contract you'll support. Now, right now, this contract that's been offered by the city, we don't have all the details. It's out for ratification, which means they go around the different areas of the city, and officers they're informed, and then they decide, and then they do a vote. And if the vote comes up negative, then God help you. Because now you got to go back to the table and say, hey, they're rejecting this contract. Now you got a real problem on your hands because they're saying, well, we're doing this and this. Well, you know what? It's not sweet enough. It's got to be sweeter. So we'll see what happens with this contract, if it's accepted by the membership or not. And the membership goes up to the rank of lieutenant, police officer, 1, 2, 3, sergeant, detective, lieutenant, and captains and above. They're in a separate bargaining unit. And what they'll basically do is coattail on to the contract of the rank and file.
What is this contract offering police officers, and does it sound like the best they're going to get, or should they think about it?
Well, see, here's my concern, and I haven't seen all the elements of the contract. I know what's been published is the financial aspect, but there's all kinds of things they put in the contract. What my concern is, and what my real fear is, you're going to definitely have council members that are going to vote no matter if it didn't include any compensation. They hate the police, and I hate to use that term, hate, but they despise the police. And these council members, who I call them knucklehead, crazy trained council members, they're going to vote no on whatever is offered. They're going to vote no against the police. That's going to send a very strong message to the people of Los Angeles. These are people you elected to represent you. These are the people you put in City Hall and pay over $200,000 a year to keep us safe. Maybe you don't belong in City Hall as a representative, or maybe we like what you do. Maybe we want to dismantle the police department. So, you got your socialist wackos that have different agendas. So it's going to be interesting. Whatever's presented and approved by the rank and file, I think you're going to find for sure, and I don't have a solid number, some of the crazy train, which I refer to as the council members who are against the police, voting no on this contract, which I think is embarrassing, and it sends a strong message. And I will beat those people up in my press releases and my commentary and I can't describe how upset I am that they would turn their backs on public safety and vote no against police officers who risk their lives to protect people. That, to me, is outrageous. They do not belong in public office. I don't care what public office they seek. They should be recalled. There's no way for that kind of individual to be in public office.
So is it when you've sat across the table from the negotiators for the city, has it been a real? Have you had to really fight to get good benefits for the police officers?
I wouldn't say we fight, but we meet. Some of the things are easy. Okay, well, we want to enhance this. Okay, yeah, no problem. But it's like you're bargaining. You're bargaining. Like your son wants to go on a date. Okay, well, I want to take the new car. Well, no, you can't take the new car. We'll take the Uber. No, I don't want to take Uber. I want to take the freaking bus or ride your bicycle. You negotiate, and you negotiate in a professional manner. But you're representing the police. You're elected to represent them as a league director, and you want to do what's best for them because you receive that contract also, but you're looking for their benefit, and you've contacted them. You go out to roll calls, you go to the video. What are you guys looking for? We're looking for 30% increase. Well, you know what, folks, you're dreaming. It's not going to get. Let's come up to reasonableness. So you meet with them. You have a feel for what they want. You have directors meetings once a week. You have delegate meetings once a month. You get a feel for what they want. And right now we're in a huge cost of living increase. And that's one of the problems. If you look at homes and the prices of homes and the interest rates, they're unprecedented. They just keep going up and up and up. You buy a car today, $30,000, $40,000, not a lot for a car. It's going to take you years to pay that thing off. So you look at the economic situation that you're facing and how are these offers, the tenured officers, the young officers. Obviously, if you're a lieutenant, a captain, a commander, a deputy chief, you're doing pretty well, but you've been around a while. So you bought your home when the prices were right. People that buy homes now, it's pretty tough. It's very tough because they can't afford the down and they can't afford the payments because interest is so high.
Yeah, one of our viewers is asking, with all the police anti-law enforcement sentiment from City Hall, does City Hall actually understand how vital LAPD is and how bad crime has gotten in the city?
Some do and some don't. And the ones that don't really care because they're for the criminal. They're clearly out for the criminal because they think the system is against minorities. The system is against anyone who's not working. The system is against those people. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you're out shoplifting, you're a criminal. If you're a person who's stealing cars, you're a criminal. If you're stealing catalytic converters, you're a criminal. We've got a fine definition. You're either honest or you're dishonest. There's no in between. It's not, well, I'm only going to steal a couple dollars. No, you stole, period. But like what we see in shoplifting now, which is out of control. And I'm not talking about the 7-Eleven. I'm talking about the Neiman Marcus and the very expensive where the smash and grabs are outrageous. I think there was one in Glendale yesterday or the day before. And they go in with a massive show of force and to just loot anything and everything. And they broad daylight. They put masks and hoods, etc. I mean, this is what's happening because there's no consequence. If they do get arrested, the knucklehead district attorney Gascon doesn't think we should prosecute or put in jail because, oh my God. Well, what these people do is they sell this online or they sell on a street corner, and you're buying quality products at a fraction of the price. And these are crooks. They belong in jail. But we have a situation that the criminal justice system is only for the criminal. There's no justice. So what we find is a situation where city council somehow gets members who align with the criminal has the benefit, not the hardworking storekeeper.
I've heard about these city council members, and, I just want to mention BLM after 2020, they came to Rise BLM Los Angeles, and they want to defund LAPD by 95%. And then you've got this recent election, and are these council members, they're coming in, are they Marxists, or what are they that they hate?
They're called socialist Democrats. They're called socialist Democrats. And what they want to do is they want to turn this system upside down. They believe that the system is unjust to minorities. They think that they pick on minorities. They think it's totally unfair and the white man rules. Well, I'm a Lebanese, so I'm an immigrant. My grandparents came over from the Middle East on a ship, so I know what it feels like to be not a white person. Well, I guess Middle Eastern people are considered white. But the fact of the matter is they care for the have-nots. For example, immigration. I believe that immigration is appropriate and it has to be done in a proper manner. They believe that immigration, whatever you want to do to get over here is fine, and do whatever you want to steal. I mean, they have an attitude that's totally different than most of us that believe in law and order. And when they get elected to public office, as we now have a few of them, we started with one, and now there's probably 3 or 4 that are committed to that. That's a frightening scenario. If they become the majority, I will tell you that LA will be gone. And what they do is they want to have a non-armed police department. They don't want police to carry guns. They want to have a new thing. For example, traffic tickets. They want to install, and this passed the state legislature and signed into law. They want to have in Los Angeles, one of the cities, they want to establish these signals that will check your speed, and they will send you a letter in the mail with a fine. So example, 11 miles over the speed limit, you'll get a ticket in the mail to the registered owner. It doesn't matter who's driving, a ticket in the mail. They want to start installing these throughout the city of LA where they have speeding problems. So I'm driving your car and I'm going 80 and a 30 and you get this ticket. Wait a second, I wasn't driving. No, it doesn't matter who's driving. They're going after the car. To me, it's a money grabber. It's like a parking ticket. I drive your car, park in the red zone. You get the ticket. I don't get it. It doesn't bother me. They don't care about the driver. The driver is the one who needs to be held responsible, not the owner of the car. But the California knuckleheads in Sacramento, led by the knucklehead governor who wants to be president, they passed this stupid law. So now you let somebody drive your car, they're speeding, you're going to get a ticket, you're going to have to pay. What? I wasn't driving. I was in the hospital. I died. No, it doesn't matter. Car's registered, you got to pay. This state, honest to God, and I've been to other states where you don't have this kind of stuff. California is absolutely beautiful as far as the ocean, the mountains, the desert, etc. We got everything, except we got knuckleheads that are in public office, and they're starting to gain more and more momentum. They're against the police. Let's not have an armed police. Let's have ambassadors. Let's take another thing you didn't talk about. How about the MTA? You got people getting shot and stabbed. The most recent here in the Valley is you got a guy with a knife who's stabbing a guy, and the guy who he's stabbing has a gun. He pulls the gun out to shoot the guy. The guy gets a knife and he dies. The guy's got a gun, but he dies because the guy with the knife stabbed. And this is absurd. If I ride the red line, orange line, blue line, purple line, whatever, and I've gone to the Long Beach Grand Prix in the past, and I've taken that down through South LA into Long Beach, I don't go without a gun, man. I swear to God, because they come on and they come up to you and they want money. Like they have a boom box and they play music and dance. They want you to give them money. I don't give you money. Get out of my face. Riding public transit in LA, I'll tell you, I don't care how much they say they're putting in, and they have a contract with LAPD and Long Beach and the sheriff. What they want to do is they want to form their own police department. When I say you knuckleheads are so stupid, who's going to want to join a police department when you can't get legitimate people to join LAPD Sheriff's Highway Patrol? They want to form their own police department. This is an example of the stupidity of elected officials. The MTA board is made up of elected officials. And who's the president of the MTA board right now? Take a guess.
Yep.
Who is it?
Mayor Bass.
There you go. We want to have a new police department. We can't get cops. And I talk to the cops who've worked the transit. You know what they tell me? This is honest to God, because they know who I am. Okay, my reputation is well known, very vocal. We've been told to stand down. We've been told to stay at the stations and be visible. We've been told not to engage the fares. What? You're paid to do a job. No, but we've been given restrictions. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. Not go out there and enforce the law. Just be visibly, and your visible presence will deter crime. Well, you see how many people are getting killed. 2 bus drivers attacked, and you got people getting killed right here in the San Fernando Valley, all connected with the transit. But see, the people who run it are politicians that obviously don't understand public safety. So you got a mayor, and it circles around different mayors. They become the chair of the MTA board. Now, we're not talking millions. We're talking billions of dollars. And they want to have this Hansen system. And I'm not saying it's a bad system, but the fact of the matter, it's got to be safe. And from my own experience, it's not safe. So I shouldn't have to hide my watch, which is not a Rolex. I shouldn't have to hide my watch and have my gun in my waistband to ride on a public transit system so I don't get accosted. That's how sad it is. And people who ride it either aren't paying, or when the driver tries to confront them, they get in a fight, and 2 drivers have been injured with that. We've lost control. And people who are in law enforcement know what I'm saying. If you want to join law enforcement, the career is there. Just make sure that you can go home at night and feel safe and get your vacation, your retirement, and be happy after you retire like I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in LA. In closing, I want to
wait. I didn't say we're done.
We're not done yet, guys. I
right.
was not talking about that.
I love you, kid. You know, we should have been partners. We would have kicked some butt and got done.
Dang it. I was in a meeting for background investigators at Personnel in 2018.
Yeah.
The chief of backgrounds told all the background investigators that LAPD, remember, this is 2018. The chief of backgrounds told us we need 12,000 officers by the time the Olympics get here in 2028.
Yep.
And instead, somehow LAPD decided to go backwards. Yeah. So what's the future for LAPD, Dennis?
Well, the future is, I don't think the chief is going to stay around for the rest of the 5 years that he has on his second contract. And I think that if the cops reject this contract, I think it'll send a strong message to the crazy trained people at City Council. And those that are good, there's some good council people who do support law and order. I think it'll send a strong message. We need to turn our attitude around, and we need to quit complaining about the police or picking on this and picking on that. We need to have a controller that does the job appropriately. We need to give some respect to law and order. Otherwise, you're not going to have anybody, and you're going to have a ghost town. And we've seen what happens when you don't have law and order. I mean, already it's out of control in markets. Already we have big stores closing. Already people are fleeing the state of California, which we have the statistics to bear that out. But until you get a safe environment where women and children feel safe walking down the street, where you feel safe parking your car, where you feel safe going out. I mean, it's sad to think that it's deteriorated, but it's deteriorated because you don't let the police do their job, because you've got knuckleheads in political office who get in there because of whatever support they get, and they believe it. Well, let's give the advantage to the poor guy. Well, no, let the poor guy follow the rules like everybody else has to follow, and get an education. We have a free education. Our system of education, LA Unified, is collapsing, as the scores show. It's collapsing. Mm-hmm. So when you have a collapsed system, this is what you get. But I'm telling you, I know a lot of folks. I was recently at the Panga LAPD division. I pull in the parking lot and I see a Tesla, a blue Tesla, and I see Tennessee plates on it. I said, Tennessee. So I walk around. I said, who owns that Tesla with the Tennessee plate? Oh, he's retiring. He's moving to Tennessee. And I went to him and I taught him, what's the story? He says, I moved my family to Tennessee. I'm here just to finish my term, and I'm out. He's now gone. He moved to Tennessee, but he brought his Tesla here on the final days before he drove back to Tennessee. This is what's happening. We got an exodus. I know folks in other states, very happy. Fewer property tax, fewer tax on your pension, live a happy quality life. Whether it's Florida or Idaho or Wyoming, wherever the case may be, they're leaving, and they're leaving in huge numbers. Meanwhile, the group that's here that wants to join, let's make sure our leaders, our respected leaders, do what they need to do to bring in people who are qualified, and deliver. LA had a great reputation. It's been tarnished, and it's continued to be tarnished because of the political pressure that exerts itself on this department. And it's a fine department. It just needs to be polished a bit. And we need to have people who really give a damn. And we don't have that in every person who's involved, period.
Okay. Well, last question for you. What does Chief Moore need to do to retain veteran officers?
I think your veterans, to be honest with you, are so fed up. It gets to the point, you know what? I'm just biting the time. I'm just counting the days, marking off the counter. Like when you're going to get a driver's license at 16, you're 5 days. Man, I get my driver's license today. I think the people with seniority, they're looking at that because they don't see hope at the end. And if people are going to be here working the Olympics, they're going to say, well, how are we going to do this with the show of force? We don't have enough people. What are we going to do? Bring in the National Guard? I mean, I don't think that the future with the council direction and the state of California leadership, I don't think it's very promising. I think it's less than 50-50 of opportunities to make it work. I really do. And I don't think the chief's going to be here for the Olympics. I think he'll be before the Olympics. I don't know who's going to come in or who's going to take over. But the fact is, Karen Bass is trying, but she's putting all her eggs in one basket, and those eggs, billions of dollars going to the homeless. You got other concerns other than the homeless. And if we start enforcing the law, you can't live on the street, you can't crap on the street, you can't do this on the street, you can't live on a street, you put your tent out of the park, you can't do these things. And out here in Woodland Hills, where I live in the West San Fernando Valley, they got people in the Warner Center Park, which is a very nice community park. They got the homeless camped out there. Well, the people that families don't want to go there. You got to take the law and enforce it. And some of the ridiculous Supreme Court rulings, the appellate court rulings on homeless are out of control. You shouldn't have the opportunity to do that. What they're doing, and they're permitting some of these things. Meanwhile, the cities need to crack down. Camarillo, they don't seem to have homeless. Ventura, they don't seem to have homeless. But LA seems to be a melting pot, and the mayor just keeps on throwing more and more money in it, more and more money. And you don't have to pay your rent. You don't have to, I mean, basically, we're a society that's crumbling here in Los Angeles. Not only not paying rent, but now these knuckleheads want to eliminate gas stoves, gas water heaters, and they want to put all apartments going to have air conditioning. Who's going to pay for that? I mean, there's so many things I can bring up to the table to say, what are we doing, folks? What are we coming up with? No more gas stove, no more gas water heater. You know how much? So who's going to run electricity? The Department of Water and Power. You got one source, Department of Water and Power. That's it. So this is how we're going to orchestrate everything. It's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
But
one of our viewers is saying the National Guard, I think he's referring to the 2028 Olympics. Can you explain a little bit about mutual aid with regard to the Olympics?
Well, we've had mutual aid before. When we had our riots, the Rodney King riots, mutual aid was here. And the National Guard, a lot of National Guard is law enforcement. A lot of people in law enforcement serve in the National Guard. They were deployed here. They helped reestablish order. But I've been through a couple of, shall we say, unusual incidents here in Los Angeles in my 55 years. We do not have the strength within LAPD or even with the sheriff's assistants to maintain all the venues, because you need to have security every venue 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I remember UCLA campus was locked down all the time with the secure fencing with wires and cameras. And they even staged fire trucks and ambulances inside the campus because they wanted to get there in case something happened. And the massive security, massive deployment of resources. And that's before we had cell phones to the point they are today. So National Guard is a backup, but you should have enough resources and have them as a backup. But again, you're not going to be able to manage the law and order as it is now with the shrinking department. And people need to understand, we're not just talking about black and whites on the street. We're talking about detectives. So when your crime's not investigated and you look at the theft that's up over 100%, and who's going to investigate it? Who's going to be there to handle it? It's not just uniformed personnel. There's a whole bunch. What about the people in the helicopters? What about SWAT? All those people, they're not on patrol. But you know what? We need to have a massive show of force. 10,000 would be a great number. I don't think we can contain what we have right now. And hopefully the National Guard will be there. But again, most of the National Guard folks, they have daytime jobs. National Guard is a secondary opportunity for them. So, I mean, we're in for quite an experience. But look at the city council people who vote no on this contract. And mark my words, those are the people who care less about police officers than anyone. And you're going to find, as God is my judge, you're going to find council members, LA City Council, whatever the contract is for LAPD, they're going to vote no. Mark my words.
Yep. I believe you. Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate it very much. You guys who were in the in viewing this as we're live, this will probably get a few hundred views after we sign off here. But Dennis, I cannot believe the wealth of knowledge that you have with all this stuff, man. And I look forward to talking with you more about this and seeing you on Fox News more as this gets to go down the rabbit hole of all this stuff. But
my pleasure. And those people out there working the beat, God bless you. You know, you got my support. But the folks who are looking, venturing into law enforcement, it's a great career. You just got to make sure that the people you're working for appreciate what you do. You risk your life, and you only die once. Keep that in mind. You only die once.
All heroes. Thank you guys for watching. And Dennis, hang out for a sec after we end here, and we'll chit chat a little bit. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good day, everybody.